Greetings, my name is Bryson Finney, and I am a music educator, a program coordinator, and a technology specialist for Nashville schools right here in Nashville, Tennessee. And I am thrilled to be a part of the CMA Foundation's Unified Voices for Music Education initiative as their music technology instructional lead. We all know that last year left us with a gap in instruction and in the quality time spent with our learners and our students. So I want to share a lesson idea with you, and maybe there's some ideas that I share in this lesson that you want to utilize as you develop content for this upcoming school year. This lesson is going to be geared around, this lesson idea will be geared around the concept of music and how it affects our perspective on things. So we're actually going to take the movie direction or film direction. So we're going to look at some film scenes, and we're going to change the music that's being played behind it and see if that affects our experience or our perspective as we watch it. We're also going to have a chance to hear from Hans Zimmer and also film composer John Williams as they talk about what it means to be a film composer and what they go through. And it's kind of their thought process behind creating the music that they create. And then students will also have an opportunity to take a film scene and develop their own music to go behind that. Okay, so this will be really interesting with how we do this, and a lot of fun, a lot of creativity. Definitely involving some of our national standards around connect, around respond, and definitely around create. So let's get started. Music affects your perspective, the film composer spin. Before we get deep in this lesson, I want to share a shared experience with you. So, have you ever been to a movie, specifically a scary movie? Because I love scary movies. And you're watching the movie, and to be honest, what you're watching on the screen isn't that scary, but what's making you jump and hide, cover your eyes, plug your ears, is the music that you're hearing. The music is affecting your experience in that movie so much. It's making you scared. And really, without that music, your experience in that movie probably wouldn't be the same. I'm really speaking from my own experience, but I bet you could relate. And so that's what this lesson is all about, how music has the power to affect how we feel, but our perspective, okay, and our experiences. So let's dive in. Let's see how this lesson is going to unfold. So this lesson will be focused on, it's been written for high school, middle school, music technology courses, but with some slight adaptations, of course. But as I was writing, this lesson would work well for upper elementary. If you have a music technology course in elementary, or your students are doing a lot of, they're in a DAW, whether it's GarageBand on an iPad, and using SoundCloud, this lesson would also work for you as well. It should be fun. All right, the delivery method, lesson could be delivered online or in person. So I definitely see room for this to be delivered online easily, and definitely in person. It's been written thinking about a synchronous learning environment. So if you're thinking of more asynchronous, you might have to be creative in that approach, but it is written for a more synchronous learning experience or environment. Okay. Lesson outcomes. What do we want our students walking away with? What do we want our students to get from this? So students will explore the role music can play in communicating specific moods, feelings, thoughts, ideas, or even stories. Students discuss the career of film composition, and we're going to hear from some film composers. And students will use specific musical choices that they've made to communicate with their audience. Okay, communicate a feeling with their audience, a thought or idea, or a story. All right, students are thinking critically. They're definitely thinking critically when they're creating, communicating through student created music, and have the option to collaborate while working. So they can easily do a lot of this in groups if you allow that, depending on your class environment. Okay. So I wanted to highlight that, and that's all in red because Those are our 4 C's. So if your school or your district is really big on the 4 C's, this lesson is dancing all around all four. Okay, let's roll. Materials. Okay, so students, we know that we need a computer and we definitely need access to a DAW. So that could be GarageBand. It could be GarageBand for iPad. It could be SoundCloud. It could be Logic. It could be whatever you're familiar with, whatever you're using in your classroom. Access to a mobile device camera for recording, and we'll talk about why. Access, this is optional right here. Access to a simple video editing platform. So this is completely optional, but it would be a step further, and we'll look at that. But we are going to be sharing files. So we need your learning management system. If it's Schoology, Google Classroom, Blackboard, or you can simply share by using email. So that's totally up to you, up to your teacher. Teachers, we need all the same. So we definitely need access to a DAW. All right. Definitely, probably the same one your students are using. For demoing purposes, access to a muted short video clip for students to see. And I have some samples for you. We'll look at those. And then I said right here, one for your entry event. And so we'll see what that is. I have one for you. And then one as an example that you could create. Totally up to you. There's room for that. I just threw that in there because that may be a great idea. Okay. We'll look at some other options too. All right. And why? Okay. Your learning management system. And then I linked out a couple film composer videos that we can use when we're talking about film composition. All right. It is session 1. I did split this lesson up into 2 days. You can teach this lesson however you want. You could do it all in 1 or do it in 2 or split it up into 3 or a whole week, whatever you want to do there. Okay. But it's session 1 and the teacher is sharing a short videoed scene that is muted. The idea behind sharing the muted scene first, if you share the scene with the music, then kids already have an idea what this is about. Everything's been communicated. We've opened up the whole bag. Okay. We know what everything's about. So the idea is to share a videoed scene, a short videoed scene. And I have 2 examples here for you, muted, and then ask the question. So we're going to jump down to the second bullet, discuss. So then you're going to ask this question. What do you think is happening in this scene? We didn't hear any music, but what do you think is happening? Okay. So let's go to that scene. All right. And then, after you play it muted, then we're going to play the same scene unmuted and compare perspectives. Did your perspective change after you heard the music that was written to go with what we just saw? Okay, so let's see the video scene that we can that's available for you. You could also use a popular film option. I have one linked here for you as well. So let's head to the browser and check out what's available. So you have 2 options there, whichever one you prefer. All right. So after that discussion takes place, students have now been introduced to the idea and they've been active participants in the idea of how music has altered their perspective. Adding music does something to the way they feel about something that they're looking at. Okay. So we're going to share the project idea. So today we will begin generating our own music for a film scene, much like film composers. All right, so let's look at the Career Connect. So we have a couple of video options that were listed under materials for teacher. And then also there's a slide that's focused on teacher resources and they're there as well. So we'll see that too. But this Career Connect, what is a film composer? We're going to hear from either John Williams or Hans Zimmer, or depending upon you and the time in your class with this lesson, you could do all 3 or all the videos that are available to you. All right. And feel free to pull your own. That takes us almost to the end of session 1. But after you've had this discussion around and you've seen and heard from film composers, we made that connection. So now we know what the project idea is. We've seen the role. Now we've learned a little bit about the role that we're going to play as students and as film composers. But the next thing, you can go ahead and allow your students to begin brainstorming what scene they're going to want to add music to. All right. You can allow your students to create this scene. So these scenes, my recommendation is these scenes should be no more than 5 minutes. So probably 3 minutes, between 3 minutes and 5 minutes long. Students could easily use mobile devices, tablets, go around and record this videoed scene if you're together at school. Just kind of have an idea of where and how you want to do that. Just kind of plan ahead. If students are at home, we're wide open, okay, for how this can happen. Of course, you can do this in groups, but just kind of think ahead of how you would want this to go. But it would be really neat if students are the creators behind these videos, okay? And they already have these mobile devices. And so let's utilize them in this lesson. We'll talk about some thoughts around that when we get to special considerations. Okay, so we'll talk more about that. But that is a great idea. Give clear directions on how this should be filmed and the time length. And I noted that down here. All right, it's session 2, okay? And in this session, I want to remind you of something. So at the end of session 1, students they were recording and they were using their mobile devices, and they're recording their own short scenes, right? And so with your guided instructions. Now, before that session is over, or before whatever deadline you give them, those videos need to be submitted to you. So by the time we get to session 2, as a teacher, you've had a chance to go through those videos and pick a couple that you think, maybe the top 3 that would be great to use, okay, as a class. Okay, so here's what we're going to do on day 2 or session 2. Teacher has already reviewed the videos. So teacher's going to review the project at hand with the students. Just to remind them, this could be the next week. So remind them, this is our project at hand. This is what we're doing. And then as a teacher, present the top 3 videoed scenes that you've selected. Now, why don't we want to use all the videoed scenes? You can if you want. As the teacher, you choose. But my suggestion is to pick just a few, because remember, we want to see how perspectives have changed. So we want to have some comparison here. We want at least 2 groups or 2 different students using the same video, so we can witness 2 different perspectives on the same videoed scene. So just keep that in mind. All right. So present those videoed scenes. Students choose the next bullet. Students now get a chance to choose their video and begin to brainstorm their perspective they would like to communicate through the music they're about to create. All right. So those videos could be uploaded to Schoology or uploaded to Google Classroom, wherever, and where the students can access them, and they can then download them and do what they need to do, maybe just view them. Okay. All right. But just kind of think about that workflow. All right. So videos are in a place students can access and begin to brainstorm their perspective and how they want to add music to this. What am I trying to communicate to my audience? I see this, but what do I want to communicate? And that's how I'm going to create my music. So next, students will open up their digital audio workstations and begin creating. And I put it with specific or specified guidelines. And what I mean here is, as a teacher, if you have any specified guidelines, especially for our younger ones, maybe we're just using loops, maybe we're using the MIDI controller, and they're allowed certain sounds to pick from. Maybe they're using the MIDI controller and they're playing, they're composing. Okay, whatever the guidelines are for your students, or maybe you want to keep it wide open and see what happens. All right. And I want to say this too. So once students have selected their video, they need to be mindful of how long that video is, because their music needs to match that. Okay. So while they're brainstorming and creating this, those are things just to keep in mind, and just having that video nearby, watching that and using that as a reference. All right. Students are going to export when they're done. When they're done with their with the music they've created, their composition, they're going to export as an MP3 file and share with the teacher. Or this is fun. Okay. Or let's ramp this up. Let's take it even further. Or students will add their MP3. They've exported it. They're going to add this to a video editing platform, and they're also going to add their video, and they're going to line it up. Okay, so we have, we can mute it, okay, but then we can also hear it with the music they've added. All right, and so we're going to talk more about that in just a moment. All right. And then of course, they're going to share with the teacher. All right. And that's it for day 2. Okay. Review the project at hand. Present the selected scenes. Students choose and brainstorm. Now choosing students begin to create. They export once they're done, and they're going to share with the teacher and their peers. And you can decide how you want that sharing process to work. All right, special considerations. So we've completed the lesson, and the first thing I want to mention is around sharing. So when it's time to share, this is a really powerful moment. So make sure you spend some time, and this even could be a third day where we're sharing our presentations. You want to really take some time to focus on this so we can look at the contrast between the different perspectives on the same scenes and discuss that. Okay. So that could easily be a day 3. All right, the first one up here, students must have permission to be videoed, okay? So we want to make sure we don't get student faces. We want to make sure we don't have students recorded that don't need to be recorded or should not be recorded. So honestly, my opinion here is just no students in videos. So while students create their own videos, just make sure it's communicated. Make sure no student should be in your videos. You can get the birds and the bees outside. You can get buildings and cars, whatever you want to do. But we're not going to be. Don't film another student. Okay. An alternate option, especially for our younger students. Teacher could generate, let's see, 3 video options that you've already created for them, or have one video option that you've created for them and really see the different perspectives within your class over that one video option. Okay. All right. Next one, provide time restraints for each portion of the lesson to keep everyone on task. Very good idea, and something that I always use when I'm working with students. I throw up, or even with adult learners, I throw up a clock, a digital clock or something to let them know, okay, guys, we have 10 minutes to get this done. And they can even monitor and watch themselves instead of waiting on you yelling out 60 seconds left. Instead of that, they can monitor, engage their workflow because you put a timer up there for them. Okay. All right. Have students consider the length of the video when creating their music. We talked about this. Students need to make sure they know the length of their video and make sure the music matches that. So just keeping that in mind. Provide any necessary guidelines for students within the DAW. We talked about this too. So based on your students' comfort level with their DAW, GarageBand, Logic, SoundCloud, just giving them some type of guidelines to help them when they're creating their background music. Okay. All right. And then a step further, I love this part. So allow students the opportunity to utilize a video editing platform. Okay. So what we're doing here is, so they have their video clip and they finish their music. So we need to put them together. So we need to use some video editing platform that will allow us to put our music with our video. We can sync them both. We can put them both together. So I just do some options up here. Feel free to pick anything you want to do this. If you are in a more asynchronous like environment, a learning environment with your students, then of course you can allow them to choose whatever they want. But just let them know the goal is for you to you want to link your audio with your video now. Okay. And just make sure they have a time to submit that to you or a time to come together to share that. All right. Apple Clips, WeVideo is awesome. It's web-based, and then iMovie, and there's plenty of other ones. All right. And then, the other option, the more simpler option would be for students just to share their music as you play. If you guys are together or you're online, you play the scene and they're playing their music. Okay. Okay. So, either way. All right. And let's see, with going a step further, I put something else down here. So if the file size, if they're sharing their video with you, if the file size is an issue, provide alternate ways to share permitted by your district. Okay. And I just do some samples. WeTransfer, Dropbox, your learning management system, of course, but sometimes the file size is limited. YouTube Unlisted. Okay. And then there's some other ones, but This video length isn't that long, so you shouldn't have an issue with that. All right, so we have resources for the teachers. So these are the video examples that we use, and the Meet the Film Composer videos that are available to you. Of course, you can choose your own, but these are just some examples that you can use for this lesson. All right. All right, and then our national standards. So I selected two that I thought were easily seen in what's going on in this lesson. The first one, generate melodic, rhythmic, and harmonic ideas for compositions and improvisations using digital tools and resources. We are obviously doing that by generating our own compositions to go along with the video scenes that we've selected. Okay. And then in that same vein, demonstrate understanding relationships between music and the other arts, other disciplines, varied contexts, and daily life. We are taking videoed scenes that we've created or we've selected, and we are using music to tell the story that we see. Okay. So we're looking for the relationship between this videoed scene and the music that we're creating. Okay, they have to relate. Okay, they're working together to tell a story. All right. So love these two standards. I feel like they fit really well, and there's probably others that we can dig up as well. Okay. So I hope you've enjoyed that lesson. And maybe you want to take different pieces of this lesson and create your own. But I hope this has stirred some ideas to support what you are doing in the classroom with your students. Bravo to all the hard work that you already do. All right. And hopefully this can support you. Thank you.